So hello everyone, I'm away with some other year 11s on a math competition and it's Monday night. I'm preparing your revision session for today and we're going to go over some old things and some new things on algebraic fractions. So first of all, I just want to say that you must be super familiar with this kind of simplification question where we're going to be factorizing quadratics, and you need to have had sufficient practice so you can do these pretty quickly. Okay, we're going to talk through this example before we move on to equations. Okay, so you can recognize the difference of perfect squares here, difference of two squares. So that will factorize as x plus 3 times x minus 3. And then down here, with a bit of luck, we can factorize 2. And that's going to factorize as x plus 3 times x minus 2. Okay, you can see that x plus 3 over x plus 3 simplifies to 1. So we're left over with x minus 3 over x minus 2. So this kind of procedure should be really standard, and what you should make sure is that you've done all of the exercises from the sheets I have given to you for this. So if you could stop the video for a moment so that everyone can copy this. All right, now let's move on to equations, and the substitute teacher should have issued you some new worksheets, or maybe I've given them to you before, I'm not sure, but anyway, there's a fresh copy for you there. And we're going to discuss two questions, one easier one and one a little bit harder. So we're going to start with question 1. Please look at the sheets. You can recognize question 1 from here. And then what I suggest is that you just watch me doing it, then the video will stop and you can copy. Okay? So we've got different fractions with different denominators, and rather than multiplying all denominators in order to get a common denominator, we must really focus on getting the lowest common denominator, not just any denominator, but the lowest common one. This is a part that you will need to do for every single question on those sheets. So the lowest common denominator here is 6k squared. Why? Because 6k squared is part of it. 3k squared is inside 6k squared. You just multiply this by 2. And k is also inside 6k squared. You have to multiply k by 6k in order to get this common denominator. Okay, so once we've identified this, you should really spend time on this, make absolutely sure that you've got the right one and that you've found the lowest possible one. Okay, and then things will go pretty smoothly. So we can multiply all fractions by 6k squared, all terms. Every single term will be multiplied by this. And let's see what happens. The first term, if I multiply by 6k squared, I get 6k squared times 1 divided by 6k squared. Well, that's 1. Then this fraction multiplied by 6k squared, well, the numerator is going to be twice as much as the denominator. So 6k squared divided by 3k squared is 2. And for this one, 1 times 6k squared divided by k is 6k. So I end up with a much simpler fraction. And now I can solve this equation. Subtract 2 on both sides, get -1 equals to -k, and divide by -6, and I get k equals 1/6. The second page from your handout is the answers, so make sure you always check your answers. Is this correct? It is. Fine, everything's good. Okay, let's stop the video now so that you can take note. All right, now let's move on to question 19. So I've copied the question here. Again, we must ask ourselves, what is the lowest common denominator? Now, notice that I've got quadratic expressions in the denominators here. When that is the case, it's worth checking for opportunities for factorization before you look for the lowest common denominator. First of all, I just noticed that I didn't copy this one correctly. That's p. Okay, so I can factorize this denominator and that one. P times p plus 1. If you expand this, you get p squared plus p. So I can do the same here. And this is p plus 1. And you can see that now the lowest common denominator is much easier to identify. This is simply p times p plus 1. And so my lowest common denominator is p times p plus 1. It's the same as these two, and then multiply this one by p to get this one. That was really necessary because this was quadratic here. And so I'm going to multiply every single term in this equation by p times p plus 1. Now, another key difficulty in this question is that negative sign here. I can assure you that in the test, some people will struggle with this minus sign. This is always a problem. We've already discussed that in class. So the more you're aware of it, the better. A minus sign in front of the whole fraction bar. Careful, this is going to be affecting the work that you do here. Let's see what happens. Anyway, I multiply by p times p plus 1. So divided by p times p plus 1, this gives 1. So I'm left over with p plus 5. Also this multiplied by p times p plus 1 divided by p times p plus 1, this leaves 1. And now minus, watch out, this is p times this bracket versus just p plus 1. And so p times p plus 1 divided by p plus 1 is p. So this is going to be p times p minus 6. Careful, the negative sign is still there and will have an impact on all of this. So let's expand. P plus 5 equals to 1 minus p times p is p squared, and p times negative 6 is minus 6p, but there's a minus here. Minus p times negative 6, that is plus 6p. Watch out here. This is the tricky part. Okay, the rest is much easier. You can notice that this is a quadratic expression. What you'll want to do is you want to rewrite it in the standard form, where everything is on one side equals to 0. And so if you do that, you get p squared minus 5p plus 4 equals to 0. And now you can use your favorite method, formula, or graphing with your calculator, or completing the square. Or, don't forget factorizing. If it factorizes easily, then this will be the quickest option probably. If it doesn't factorize easily, well, you're a bit unlucky, then you'll have to try other things. In this case, the expression does factorize easily. You get p minus 4 times p minus 1 equals to 0. do a bit of mental work here to check that this fits this. I stop here for just a few seconds, check it. And when you're sure that this works, fine, you can go the last step. So p minus 4 equals to 0, or, don't forget this, p minus 1 equals to 0. And so p equals to 4, or p equals to 1. All right, I'm going to stop here, and you can copy this question here. Okay, you're going to finish the last line here yourself. Okay, that's it. I wish everyone good luck with the preparation, and see you on Wednesday for the test. Bye.